Okay. Okay. Here we go. Okay. Always technically challenged. How are you, Andrew?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Yeah, it's recording. Okay. Yeah, so remember me? I interviewed you for Spa Night in Chicago and then Fire Island, and it's great to see you again.
Yeah, thank you for chatting with me again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of your work. And so was the wedding banquet something you've always wanted to make? When did you first want to do the project?
Yeah, I was approached about it. Uh, our producers had an initial conversation. They were scheming without me. Um, Anita Guo and Caroline Clark from Kindred Spirit, they held the rights to the wedding banquet, and they approached James Schamus and Joe Pirro and asked, is there a filmmaker that uh, would make sense to reimagine the wedding banquet? And James and Joe had just produced my second feature, Driveways. Um, and they know I'm gay, they know I'm Asian, they know I love the original film, and so they put me in touch with Anita, and I spoke with her at Sundance 2019. And I had um, no expectation before that, oh, I should remake the wedding banquet.
Mhm.
And so the first I heard of it was when Joe and James said, "Hey, like, do you want to meet Anita about this?" And so I rewatched the movie, and I'd seen it many times before. And very significantly, the first time I had seen it when I was 8 years old, it was also the first gay film that I'd ever seen. And so it holds a very special place in my heart. Um, and Rewatching it, as great art does, it inspired art, like I was watching it thinking about all these feelings and insights and, you know, uh, conversations that I've had with my boyfriend about, getting married and about
Mhm.
having kids. And it just got me really excited. Of course, there was this pressure of like, oh gosh, am I really gonna remake an Ang Lee movie?
Mhm.
But it also felt like a very organic thing, where I think lots of filmmakers, you watch another film, you go see a piece of art, you go listen to some music, and it inspires you. And I was really inspired. And I had a very personal connection, to the themes of the film and was really excited to um do that personalization, in the writing of the movie. Um, and so what really guided me was kind of modern queer topics about, well, now that we can get married,
Mhm.
should we actually? Do we really want to?
Mhm.
And then also having kids, like, how do you go through that process? In the original, they accidentally have a baby.
Right.
I was really interested in seeing a couple like planning to have a baby and what that looked like.
Yeah. Has Ang Lee seen the movie? Do you know?
He has not seen the finished film. We're very excited to show it to him. He's been very supportive of the reimagining.
Mhm.
He sent me messages wishing me luck.
Oh,
He's incredibly busy working on his own movies. I am very anxious for him to see it, and I think it'll happen soon. But we just want to, get the right screening room, right moment. But yeah.
yeah. I love the music of the original. So I kept waiting for that like sweeping music to come in. I looked him up, his name's what, Mater or whatever they did. And so I kept waiting for that to come, but that's a different feel, I guess, than.
That music is incredible. Like I love the soundtrack to the original film. I love the kind of cha-cha comedy of it too, it was a thing that I purposefully wanted to give this film its own sonic identity.
Mhm.
Um and it was it, it's it, it was a really hard choice to make because I know how effective, that original is. Um, but you know, I was very careful never to imitate because I felt like imitation in this process would be disrespectful and um, inspiration would be honoring.
Yeah, yeah, no, I get that. How hard was it to create the some of the relationships? Because it you did a great job with getting the feel, and the actors were so good with. You felt like some of them had been together for a long time. How did you create that?
Yeah, I worked very hard with my casting director, Jenny Ju, who um, was Bong Joon-ho's casting director for Okja and Snowpiercer. She's incredible. And we looked for actors who had this kind of spirit of generosity in their process. Um, some of that was um, by looking at work. Some of that was by having conversations with, filmmakers who'd worked with them in the past. And then obviously I had my conversations with them. And just from everybody, I really got this sense of, um, openness and excitement to dive into this project and really, you know, um, uh, you kind of go on this journey with me.
Mhm.
Um, with both couples, I had them, uh, do some work together, rehearsal. We didn't have a lot of time, but I just wanted to see if I could build that intimacy, through some exercises. I had each couple think of a secret that they would only that only they would know.
Oh,
And I had each individual within the couple also have a secret that they would never tell their partner. Um,
okay.
and that's born out of something that happened to me in film school where I had a professor tell me that I had to know everything about a character. And my response was, I don't know everything about myself,
And
Like,
it changes all the time.
it
Yeah.
changes, it evolves, and I think also, if I did know everything about a character,
Mhm.
it would probably be a very two-dimensional character. And so I actively encourage my characters to have secrets from me, because I think that is a useful tool to always go back to like find like this is mine, this is the character.
Yeah, I love that. I got to meet Lily and Bowen through Critics' Choice, and they were both so nice. Like Lily came up to me, complimented me on my suit. There was no reason for her to do. I mean, we just hit it off, and then Bowen's like somebody you can like hang out with, and they really surprised me that they're so just wonderful and nice. And
I mean, just the entire cast is a bunch of sweethearts, like
yeah,
I it was important,
yeah, you
because
want nice people to do well. What were you intimidated by Joan Chen at all?
of course, I was very scared to meet her because she's such a legend.
Hmm.
But then I met her and she was so sweet. She was incredibly sweet, and I had also talked to Sean Wong, who directed Joan and Dee Dee, and he's a friend of mine, and he was like, oh, like don't be nervous. Like she's so nice. And and it's true. We spent our first conversation on Zoom just talking about our families. And afterwards she emailed me saying, "Oh God, like we didn't talk about the movie or about the role. I feel like I did badly." And I was like, "Oh God, like you were nervous talking to me and you felt like you didn't do well?" Like, no, 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 not at all. Like I was nervous to talk to you, and actually I loved our conversation, and it really feeds into, our next conversation about the film and about the character. And so she was yeah, just so sweet and gives such an incredible performance in the film.
Yeah, and LGBT advocate, I mean, that was at the beginning.
It's such a fun, like that was a fun thing for me to update. I was like, I think people expect, an Asian mom to be disapproving of her queer daughter. But I thought, in this modern day, what if we had this character be too and like overly enthusiastic about her gay daughter? And I really loved mining that for a lot of great comedy and a lot of drama as well.
Uh-huh. Um, what for the father role, why did you choose not to bring this person in? Like he was very, abstract.
Yes, yeah. So part of that was, Ang Lee did such an incredible job, in the wedding banquet to talk about fathers and sons. That whole um, the Father Knows Best trilogy of Pushing Hands, The Wedding Banquet, and Eat, Drink, Man, Woman. Like, you know, I was like, "Ah, I'm not going to talk about fathers, like let's talk about matriarchs." And then another choice that we made, and this was very intentional. James and I talked about this a lot, and at one point we wondered like, should we bring Grandpa from Korea, and ultimately what we decided was that, I didn't want this film to have to deal with homophobia, like that felt like an easy villain. And of course that would up the stakes and the drama. But I was more interested um in the more nuanced relationship between Min and his grandmother. And that, what may seem like homophobia is actually just her concern and trying to protect her grandson. And um, that just felt more nuanced and more true, and more worth fighting for.
hmm Well, I just want to say I appreciate your work. I know we got to move on, but I look forward to maybe seeing you in June for Pride Month in LA, and we're working on something. And so I hope to see you there. And I always look forward to your next project. So keep it up, Andrew. Happy Pride, and hopefully I'll be in LA in June to see you.
Keep me posted. Keep me posted.
Okay. All right. Take care. Okay.
Bye.
Thanks, Jerry.
Thank you. Bye.